Hello and welcome back. I've seen already that we have Wilmer Pasut with us. Wilmer.
Yes, hi.
Hello and welcome. Where are you joining us today from?
I'm from Padua right now, although I'm working in Venice, but right now I'm in Padua.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. Wilmer is joining us, and he's going to speak about the working package 4 called Rethinking Technology. Wilmer is an associate professor, and his research focuses on human comfort, human behavior, building systems, and energy consumption of buildings. And he is from the University of Venice in Italy. And I'm not really happy to pronounce the first Foscari. Is that correct?
Foscari, but it's fine. I mean, University of Venice is fine.
Okay, so the stage is yours. You may share your screen and
sure.
Presentation.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, but there is no presentation. We just
see. Yeah, it's coming. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay, if I can start. So, hello everyone. Thanks for the nice introduction. My name is Wilmer Pasut. Again, I work at the University of Venice. And today I'm going to present to you this presentation with the name Rethinking Technology. So, basically, in this presentation, we show you the work we have carried on in work package in working group 4 within the Restore project. So the objective was to explore the potential and impact of technologies for a regenerative indoor environment in new and existing buildings. This image tells you a bit more about our work, and it's a nice representation of what we try to accomplish. So it represents the concept of the working group 4. How can we define technology able to guarantee a regenerative indoor environment, minimizing its impact on the planet? So the technology is really the gear here in the middle of this scale, and how we can balance between indoor environment and have the minimum impact, or a good actually impact maybe on the nature. So everything comes with a series of questions. So we pose us a series of questions to try to carry on the work. So we have, among these questions, we have what is a regenerative environment. So one thing is to use a word, another thing is to give a meaning to that word. Is it a univocal, or can have different nuances? How technology can contribute to achieve a regenerative indoor environment? What is a good set of solutions for a regenerative indoor environment? And finally, what should be the environmental impact of a regenerative technology? So going through the questions one by one, we can start with what is a regenerative indoor environment? So in this attempt to have this a shift of paradigm from the less bad to the more good, we try to define a set of indicators that somehow can put down in numbers what a regenerative indoor environment is. Indicators that are, of course, useful for designers and are useful also to define which are the technologies that allow to have a regenerative indoor environment. To do that, we look at the environmental aspect, which the main aspect characterizing the indoor environmental quality, which are generally speaking 4: indoor air quality, hygrothermal environment, visual environment, and acoustic environment. To this, we add the 5th one, which is human and nature environment. And this is a very key and I would say a really needed addiction if we want to take into account and if we want to deal with a regenerative environment. Related to this aspect, there are the sub-aspects, so which are the elements that characterize the main aspects. So for example, for indoor air quality, we have contaminants, outdoor air, occupant satisfaction. For visual, for example, we have daylight, circadian rhythms, and occupant satisfaction. Something that is already probably clear is that in each of those aspects, we have the occupant satisfaction. So the role of the user is central in this work. For sure, we are working to provide the best possible condition to the user of the building. So to do that, we need to know the level of satisfaction of the user, and we need to come out with technological solutions that have a positive impact on the perception that the user has over the indoor environment. So we managed to define a set of key performance indicators. Like for air quality, for example, we define formaldehyde and PM 2.5 and PM 10 as the contaminants that we should try to keep an eye on. But we define also standards or publication that somehow guide toward the definition of the best key performance indicators. So basically, we define this threshold, these values, and sometimes are thresholds, sometimes are desired values that needs to be reached. For example, for formaldehyde, we define a maximum limit above which we should never go. And here I'll report the different sources that we use to define these parameters. The intent was really to, I mean, we could have came out with a infinite number of key performance indicators. The intent was to try to reduce them to a reasonable number that could be applied by designers when they conceive a new building, to try to see, okay, I need to conceive a building that is capable to reach those values. Now let's go to the second question. Is it a univocal or can have different nuances? So the built environment and the way we conceive and perceive it is also based on actually on our cultural background. So basically, how we perceive an indoor environment, how an indoor environment is perceived by somebody in the south of Italy or south of Spain or whatever, is different than how the same indoor environment is perceived by someone from Denmark, for example. Because we have, from a cultural point of view, we are used to different type of indoor environments. We are used to different controls also of the indoor environment. So we look into this. I didn't go that much through in this presentation because I had to select the topics because the time is limited, unfortunately. But for example, this chart already presents you clearly the differences that we have even in the perception and the way that we control the indoor environment. So we performed some research into that, and we summarize everything in the activities of Working Group 4. Also, if you are interested in the topic, there is an interesting European project that is going on right now, which name is Culturally, and University of Venice and ARAC are both involved in this project. So if you want and if you are interested in the topic, please take a look at the website. It's kind of interesting. The third question is how technologies can contribute to achieve a regenerative indoor environment and how to assess it. So again, the topic of technology is central. So far we defined the boundaries. Now let's take a look on what maybe what has an impact of those on those boundaries. So the technologies. Technologies, we are looking at technologies elements impacting human perception and then impacting also the key performance indicators that we defined before. So if you remember the indicators that I just presented, we link to that several functions that the technology can provide in a way to impact the key performance indicators. So we divide the technology in subsystems. So for example, building envelope. The building envelope can contain several different technologies. So we divide that as a sort of subsystem containing different possible technologies. And this subsystem, like the building envelope, has an impact on thermal comfort, has an impact on visual comfort, acoustic comfort, fresh air supply, and so on. But we had also interior elements. We had also active building systems, and so on. So we have several subsystems that we use to categorize, to divide the different technologies. Then we create a repository for regenerative technologies. These repositories contain several examples, several technologies that, in a way that we present these technologies from the point of view of the impact that these technologies can have on the indoor environment, and can have to try to achieve the indicators presented before. This is the example of this repository. And the repository can actually be found on the Restore website. And there is a way to navigate through it. Now I brought you an example. So selfie facade system, for example, which is a very complex type of facade that connect the indoor with the outdoor, which has phase changing materials, which can have photovoltaic panel, it has internal elements, and so on. This type of complex facades, looking at the repository that I showed you before, can have an impact. It is categorized, of course, in the building envelope, and can work to prevent heat losses, the thermal buffer, thermal mass, but it has also an impact for what concerns indoor air quality, so air purification. It has also can be categorized also under the category of renewable energy sources because it has photovoltaic panels. In the category of the HVAC because it has heat exchangers and so on. So this is to show you how a single technology can actually be subdivided in multiple aspects within the repository. To sum up, a solution to achieve regenerative indoor environment are presented. Complementary approaches for sustainable, multifunction, and regenerative building. Select technical solution and according to the aim, and then the repository is meant to organize, direct the selection. So if you have a chance, take a look on the repository. How to assess it, how we can assess a regenerative indoor environment. So basically there are two main ways. One, the post-occupancy evaluation surveys, again, the centrality of the user. So we need to know what the user thinks about the indoor environment. And then there are the field measurements. There are several measurement strategies for what concern air temperature, surface temperature, air infiltration, discomfort, and glare. I mean, the building is a very, based on the way that we conceive it, it's a very stable and fixed thing, but actually the condition insides are can be very, very different. They can change during the day, during the season. So we need to know anything about our building and how it performs. And then there is the human behaviors and the understanding of the users. Each user has a different perception of the indoor environment, and we need to know it, and we need to know how the user feels. We know already the standards have never been so good in understanding the user and understanding how the user perceives the indoor environment. So definitely there is the need always to go and perform some post-occupancy evaluation survey to understand user perspective. So what is a post-occupancy evaluation? The focus of the post-occupancy evaluation can be classified into three areas: process, so procurement, design, construction, and so on; functional performance, comfort, operational cost, life cycle; and technical performance, physical system, environmental system, and so on. So the post-occupancy evaluation methods that I mentioned are based on location of the building, building type, nature of the problem. So based on these elements, you select the type of measurements that you need to perform. And then there are also differences in the type of post-occupancy evaluation survey that you take. You can have a right now survey, a longitudinal, a cross-sectional survey. Depends on what you are interested in understanding from the users. Post-occupancy evaluation survey is key. I like to stress that once more. This is a very famous result from a well-known post-occupancy evaluation survey, which is the one of the Center of the Built Environment from UC Berkeley. They performed this survey on 52,980 occupants in 351 buildings. So each of those buildings were designed to achieve the 80% of acceptable indoor acceptability level as prescribed by ASHRAE 55. That means that if you interview 100 people, 80 of them should tell you that they perceive the indoor environment as acceptable. But actually, if you look at the results, everything goes quite well till the point that you reach the personal perception of the users. When you reach the point of visual privacy, air quality, noise level, temperature, sound privacy. So users complain about these parameters in nowadays building. So we need to know that, and we need to take action to provide better indoor environment. Now we have question number 4. What is a good set of solutions for a regenerative indoor environment? So before we saw technology, each of them taken singularly. Now, which is the set, how we can put them together in an effective way to have a set of effective solutions for a regenerative indoor environment. We put together this atlas of solutions. So in this atlas that is available through the website, you can find several examples that can be an inspiration for your work if you are looking to design this type of buildings, to see what has been done in other buildings to try to achieve a restorative indoor environment. This is how the repository, the atlas, looks like. Then we have the final question: what should be the environmental impact of a regenerative technology? Also, in this case, I need to be brief, but just to give you an idea, we can analyze technology based on the impact that they have on the indoor environment, but also we need to analyze each technology during their entire life cycle. So we have this LCSA analysis where we put together life cycle assessment, life cycle costing, but also social life cycle assessment. We need to have solutions that are just also from the point of social point of view. This is it. If you want to get more information, of course, you can visit the Restore website, and in the Restore website, you can download the booklet of Working Group 4 for free. It's there available, and I recommend you, if you're interested in the topic, to take a look and download the book, which was done by the contribution of several key researcher and active researcher in these cost actions. Thanks a lot, and this is it from my side.
Thanks a lot, Wilmer, and thanks also for being here with us. I think we got quite some insights to what you came up with in this Working Group 4, where you've been working hard.